Developing on Capitol Hill, House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer defending the decision to have Hunter Biden sit for a deposition on December 13th in an interview with NewsNation's Joe Khalil. All of this coming after the president's son's lawyers have pushed for public testimony instead.
What do you think you would get out of a private deposition that you couldn't just get with him coming publicly and testifying?
Yeah, a public testimony with 25 Republican members of Congress asking 1.4 questions per questioner. That's about 32 questions. We have about 350 or 400 questions for Hunter Biden. We have tens of thousands of pages of bank documents. We have emails, one of which we're going to release later on today, that we need to ask specific questions to the president's son about what did you and your family do to receive millions of dollars from our enemies around the world? Because nobody knows what they did to receive the money. We have specific questions, and you just don't have the opportunity to get that substantive in a committee hearing. Committee hearings are not as substantive as depositions. That's the way it's always been in this town. Jamie Raskins has said that before. That's the way they conducted the Trump impeachments. That's the way the January 6th committee conducted business.
Yeah, Joe catching him in the hallway yesterday. Let's bring in national political reporter for The Hill, Julia Manchester. Julia, for starters, I'm just curious what you thought of Chairman Comer's answer to Joe Khalil about the need for this to be a closed-door meeting, because I think a lot of people probably watched that exchange at home and are scratching their heads as to why public testimony couldn't be as substantive. Would they not be still asking the same questions?
Yeah, absolutely. You would think that a public testimony would at least allow Republicans to say they're being transparent in this process and, open to the public to watching this. But as Chairman Comer says, they don't have enough time to do it in public. They'd rather do it in private. So, that definitely raises some eyebrows, because this all comes back to the question of the impeachment inquiry, Markie, into President Biden. We know that Republicans currently don't have a lot to back up that inquiry, at least publicly, and they've gotten criticism for that. So this could be an opportunity for them to find some more information, but we really won't know until we find out what happens in that deposition.
And just to clarify further, because you know better than the rest of us, are there time limits on a public testimony that aren't put on private closed-door depositions?
Not that I'm aware of, Markie. To be honest, I don't cover these hearings in Congress as much. I'm more on the political campaign side of things. But, it would appear, based on Comer's answer, that this is very much him, trying to, saying he can get more done in private, maybe have more of a frank discussion, not have some of the theatrics that normally play out in public.
Okay. Also, these depositions are obviously not new. President Trump's son, Don Jr., had to sit for an 8-hour deposition before the House Intelligence Committee back in 2017. So in your eyes, is this really more of, I guess, an optics fight now, with Hunter's lawyers looking to paint the GOP as not wanting public testimony due to what they think and say is a lack of evidence?
Yeah, I think you're definitely going to see an optics fight between both of these sides. With, Hunter's lawyers, I think Hunter Biden's lawyers, they're looking to paint this as obviously a political move by the Republican Party, or the Republicans in the House, at a time when Joe Biden is gearing up to run for re-election next year. So I think you're going to continue to see these attacks back and forth, just in terms of this impeachment inquiry. Remember, Hunter's already facing his own separate criminal case, so that's not directly related necessarily, but I think you're going to see his team make the point, or try to make the point, that this is politics on the GOP's part, trying to bring him into this impeachment inquiry as a way to get to his father.
Yeah, and you bring up President Biden. His future as this current 2024 presidential race, of course, is very much ongoing. This all also comes as House Republicans are reportedly debating whether or not to hold a formal vote on authorizing the impeachment inquiry into President Biden. What would that mean for the investigation?
Yeah, so if they authorize the impeachment inquiry, it would essentially, I guess, mean that it's one step closer, to getting into the investigation and formalizing it, if you will. But there's, I think, a lot of skepticism about whether this is the right move. I know that there's a handful of Republicans in the House that have, raised some skepticism of this.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.